Anxiety and depression are all around us, a three-step process for shifting brain patterns and getting on with life. Next on the podcast. Hi, friends. It's Natalie. Hope you are having a great day. Today, a topic I find more important than ever as an adult and for our kids today. At some point in your life, or maybe right now, you're dealing with anxiety and depression. It seems to be everywhere. Why? We live in such a difficult time and we try so hard to take everything on ourselves. My guest today is Dr. Kim Dioramo. We are going to discuss the prevalence of anxiety and depression and the factors contributing to the increase. She introduces us to a three-step process to shift physiology and brain patterning, emphasizing the importance of presence and making conscious choices. Kim also explains the use of tapping to reduce anxiety. She highlights the connection between emotions and those physical symptoms. I'm really excited for you to meet her today. Before we get started, have you subscribed by hitting that little subscribe button here on the podcast? I also want to ask you a huge favor. Reviews make a world of difference when it comes to podcast growth and success. And I want to keep doing this and I want to impact as many people as possible. Would you leave me a review? It takes 2 minutes. I promise. It's super quick. I left instructions on how to do that. It's a quick link in the show notes, or if you're on YouTube, you can do it just right down below the screen. Let's get started today with Dr. Kim Dioramo on anxiety and depression. Kim, thank you so much for joining me. I feel like as a young person, as a young adult, I didn't hear so many people having issues with anxiety and depression, but it is so prevalent today.
There's a lot of major factors playing into that. One is, I know as a parent, I really wasn't aware of little layers of urgency I was carrying, which wouldn't be a conscious fear necessarily, or even anxiety. But the way I was going about my life, there was like a level of urgency and intensity. And my kids, I have two kids, were the ones that kind of reflected that back to me. And usually kids are amplifiers. So they're going to sort of like 10x whatever layers are there that you may be unconscious of as a parent, and react. It's very disturbing to their system. The other major factor is, as we accelerate as human beings, we are increasing in consciousness. We're realizing the real value of being connected within ourselves, being authentic, being honest, being a loving person. The body and our physiology registers that. So whether we're consciously aware of that or we're not, our physiology registers that. And as we've come along, new generations being born are more and more sensitive, not because that's some kind of pathology or something, but because we are meant to live more and more according to that truth, the truth that we are connected, that we are nurtured and provided for, the truth that love is really what strengthens us. And so any ways we are living not according to that, we're like, I got to do this thing, or my role and my job and my obligation to others, we prioritize before that. It's going to show up in our physiology, and it's definitely going to show up in our kids. They feel that urgency and they feel that discord, and their system is really not designed to just like sweep it under the rug and wait another 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And talk about sweep it under the rug. Like that was such a thing when you think of baby boomers and you think of these hardships. It was like, oh, we don't talk about our hardships. And so in a way, it's like talking about it is the first way of dealing with it, but talking about it a lot, we get all caught up in it. So let's start dealing with it. Let's get to some solutions. We know the problem. What do you advise? How do you help people?
It's really important, the way we're breathing in our body. And so I have a 3-step process I've taught my patients and my clients. I use it all the time, that shifts your physiology and shifts your brain patterning from that heightened anxiety, urgency, buzz, down into a more conscious place of proactivity, responding instead of reacting. And it really shifts our
Mm.
physiology back into clarity so we can perceive resources and access them. So, years and years back when I was very young, I actually did suffer from severe anxiety.
Mm.
And this was a time nobody knew, there was no word for it. I didn't know a
Mhm.
single person who
Yeah.
was struggling with what I was experiencing. And it wasn't until later, studying psychology, studying medicine, I read in the book about anxiety and panic disorder. And I
Mm.
remember reading the description thinking, oh my gosh, that is exactly what some like heady textbook person would write to describe what was happening in me. Although it barely scratched the surface of like the intensity of what it was actually like. And it was then I began exploring this and learning about it. And I had to figure out on my own how to modulate my nervous system. There was nobody teaching me breath work. Like I literally had nobody I could talk to about this. But I
Mm.
did notice that what I was thinking about and focusing on and the way I breathed through my body and held my body had a dramatic impact on whether the anxiety would escalate into a full blown panic attack or whether it would sort of dissipate and dissolve. So we
Mm.
can do some of this now. This is so helpful, whether it's your kids or yourself, or just, wow, I'm overwhelmed, I'm so busy, to
Yeah.
do a little check in.
Okay. Let's do it.
Okay, so the tool is ABC. The first part is bringing your awareness to the body. When
Okay.
your awareness is outside of you or off in the future, I'm going to be late, I hope this doesn't happen,
Mm.
or anywhere other than here now, it will trigger inflammation in your body and it will trigger that heightening urgency in your nervous system. So the
Yeah.
simplest thing is you can even just tap on your heart. Breathe in and out, and then breathe as if it's this space. It's your heart that's bringing the air in, breathing in, and it's this space that's sinking back down as you exhale. So your attention, your focus, your energy goes here now into this area of your body. When you're tapping, you're shifting your electromagnetic nervous system. So it does have some physiologic effect. It does have effect on your neurology and brain function. But it will also allow you to have a new focal point. So instead of
Mm.
focusing on, I'm going to be late or I can't believe she did this, you
Mm.
now begin to bring it here now. And that's really where your point of power is. So you can do it just resting the hand on the heart. And the second place is the second step is breathing. So awareness is A, B is breathing. When I was an ER doctor for many years, it was all about protocols. You have your go-to when things are intense. We were in major traumas. You have your A, B, C, because you've got to anchor yourself around that structure rather than like, what should I do here? Or, oh
Mhm.
no. And it's the same thing with anxiety. You have this anchor point system. So you practice. I'm going to bring my awareness right here, right now, into the body, focusing on the heart, breathing in and out. You can relax your shoulders down. That's another major key point
Mm.
that
Yes.
turns off that urgency of the sympathetic nervous system.
Yeah.
The second stage is to shift your breathing. And so this part is so, so nurturing physiologically. It'll change your brain so you begin to see things you didn't see before. Like, oh, wait a minute. Why don't I just do that? When you're in that heightened sympathetic nervous system of fight or flight, you literally cannot see solutions. Your brain is honing in on the, laser focus of how do I climb the next tree to escape the tiger? You are
Yeah.
not able to see the obvious solutions that could be right under your nose. So you shift your breathing, and as soon as you relax your shoulders back down, it will bring the breath deeper down into the lung fields, the lower lung fields. But the point here is to let the belly expand out with the inhale and let the belly sink in with the exhale. You could take 5 minutes a day to retrain your body to breathe this way so that when you're in the moment of urgency or trigger or overwhelm, you actually have way more access to this physiology and this type of breathing. The third step is your conscious choice. When we're in that sympathetic overwhelm, you snap at your kid. What do you mean? Why are you doing that? Or you make a rash decision because you just really don't see what's actually possible.
Mhm.
When we have brought our attention back here now into the body, we're getting our power back, and we've shifted our physiology by shifting our breathing. We actually have access to a lot more conscious choice. And it's really just a matter of, what do I truly want here? Sometimes I'll just ask the question. If I'm really triggered and I can't see any
Mm.
possibility, I'll just say, what else is possible here? So
Mhm.
that's sort of your C, is like, what's my go-to? What's my conscious choice? And sometimes the conscious choice is, I choose to be love instead of this. I
Mm.
choose to be at peace, and it's okay for me to let go.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, that control thing, for me, and I think for a lot of people, is I just want to control this. I want to fix it. I want to do it. And to just step back and say, wait a minute, I don't need to have that control, and to let yourself have that moment.
We're so used to thinking that we have to control things. It's just an assumption, but
Yeah.
actually that's what really like keeps everything we're asking for blocked from
Mm.
coming in. And whether you're a parent and you're seeing anxiety in your kids, like I've seen that when people do shift this, they release control, they're willing to be more in flow. They'll tell me, oh my gosh, my kids stopped having night terrors. Oh my gosh,
Mm.
my kid's not in anxiety and panic. They don't need medication and therapy anymore. Oh my gosh, my teenager isn't slamming the door and shutting me out. She came and talked to me about her boyfriend. And the reason is, your physiology is such a potent signal to
Mm.
everyone around you that unconsciously, it doesn't necessarily mean they're aware of it. They'll feel you, especially kids are really energy sensitive, but everyone. And so the way they behave around you, whether your husband picks up the dishes and like automatically takes care of things, or you're like, why do I have to do everything, has everything to do with the signaling happening within you, and you're in charge of that. So when you just bring that attention back here now, it may not be comfortable to feel what's here now, but you do it anyway. That's A. You shift your breathing, go into that belly breathing to shift from the sympathetic nervous system pattern to the parasympathetic nervous system, where you will reboot and rebalance your physiology. You'll access and see resources, and then begin to live from conscious choice instead of the reactive patterns.
Yeah. What it makes me think of is, when I'm sitting here talking to you, I'm just calm, having a nice conversation. But when I'm in work mode, and when I'm in rush around mode, or get the kids out the door mode, or, whatever that is, it's hard to take a step back and just be still and breathe.
I learned this when she's now 11, but she was like 2, and I realized, like, if I've got this agenda, come on, come on, come on, we're going to be late. We got to get out the door.
Yeah.
There was like an intensity that actually mucked everything up. She'd be upset. She wouldn't get her
Mhm.
shoes on. So I remember one time, she was kind of whining in the back, and I just pulled the car over. I said, what do you need? And she's like, I dropped my book. Oh, okay. Here's your book. 10 out of 10. We got
Mm.
on our way. But if I had, come on, Gemma, work with me here, and resisted it, like, it'd be like, it'd take 10 minutes instead of 10 seconds.
Yeah.
So it's really a matter of, will I bring my presence to this moment even when I'm scared, or think, we got to get there when I'm feeling urgency, even when I'm overwhelmed and I think, no, I have to do it this way, right? Just
Yeah.
soften your body. That's a major key here. Soften your body, breathe more fully, and then begin to ask that question, think more expansively. Wait a minute, what's actually possible here that I'm not seeing? Because when we're used to working and living in overwhelm, we just don't realize there's a
Yeah.
different way to do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's sad to think we get stuck in the habit of overwhelm.
And we
It's
think
a
it's going to
norm.
work. We think, like,
Yeah.
well, I'll just work harder. And
Mhm.
it's just never going to happen, because everything is responding to you.
Yeah. What else do you deal with your patients in, depression, anxiety, and some of these tactics? And I want you to give me a few more. The tapping has become a thing I have found so helpful. I mean, you people listening versus watching on YouTube maybe didn't see we were both tapping through that, but I know there are other tapping
Oh,
places.
yeah.
Can you give me some of those and Continue.
Yes, and we
Mhm.
actually have a really good free resource on this. I can give you the link for that as well because it's
We'll put it in
so,
the show
so
notes.
valuable. And I've
Okay.
seen so many kids get off medications, no longer need therapy, and really resolve major chronic health issues, abdominal pain, inflammatory
Mm.
disease, as well as mental, emotional, and behavioral issues. So basically, our meridian channels are these electromagnetic currents. They're channels throughout the body, and they've been teased out anatomically in Western medicine, but these have been studied for like ever in Eastern medicine and much more well understood. So this component is constantly giving information to our nervous system, which has been shown to govern everything happening in our physiology and everything happening in our brain. And
Mm.
so I'm just going to start tapping on some of the points, and you can tap with me. The first point is in the inner eyebrow, right on that bony ridge in the start of the eyebrow. And you could tap one side, you could tap both sides, and you're just going to breathe in and out. And that first thing we did with the instant elevation tool, the ABC tool, I
Yeah.
use that with this. So all I'm going to say here is just keep your attention in your body, feeling what's happening here now, and just use that belly breathing. It's okay. Soften your shoulders and let your body know it's okay to breathe in my body now. So that's
Mm.
going to be our first point. Soften your shoulders, breathe through your belly. Our second point is the outer edge of the eyebrow, right on that bony ridge. And you just tap, 5 or 10 times slowly with the pad of your finger. Same thing, breathing. We will add to this, but right now we're just going to open up the channels and breathe. The next one is underneath the eyes. So, right on the little bony ridge on the top of the cheekbone. Breathing in, breathing out. This is letting your body know, oh, it's okay to relax. It's okay to soften my shoulders. It's okay to let the breath come in fully. The next one is right in the midline, underneath the nose, in the middle of the top lip and the nose. So you're just, same thing. Relax your body, breathe more fully, tap to open up these channels. And then right on the chin, you're softening your shoulders, letting the breath feel what you feel, because you may feel, oh, I feel bad. I feel heavy. I feel anxious. I feel angry. That's actually all good because that's the energy coming up. It's no longer suppressed under the rug. It's actually coming up, but it will go out. That's why you want to use a lot of breath. You drink a lot of water when you tap. The next one is underneath the collarbones. So it's like that soft, fleshy spot right underneath the collarbones. It's also in the right and left. Sometimes I'll just use one hand. Sometimes you just tap the right side. You don't have to do both sides. And these are all different meridian channels. This one's a really powerful one called the K27 point, and it's part of the kidney meridian. If you're really anxious and you're really overwhelmed, you just spend like a full minute right here and just say, body, it's okay to let go. And I promise you, you will have a major shift in your physiology. The next point is underneath the arm. So right at the like nipple line, underneath the armpit, breathing in, breathing out. You could do both sides, but I usually just do one here. And then the last point is right on the top of the head. So
Mm.
you just tap right in that middle of the head and breathe in and breathe out. This is an awesome thing. First thing in the morning, just say, hey, body, good morning. How are you doing? As you're going to bed at night, right, body, you can let go of the day. If you're in transitions, like you're driving the car, if you're feeling overwhelmed. So it's a good go-to tool, but it's also a good daily practice. After we do the points, you just breathe in and then exhale and breathe out. Sometimes I like to make a noise because that really moves a lot of energy. We can do a little bit of a round of using that more specifically for anxiety if you'd like, and I'll show you how.
Are you that person that worries every time you are asked to go on camera? Do you get asked to do an interview, maybe a Zoom call, and you don't know what to wear or what you'll say? As an Emmy Award winning news anchor, I watched thousands and thousands of people struggle with their on camera persona and appearance. Because I'm asked so often to give tips on how to be on camera, I created a guide that you can buy for just $24.99. And it has everything you need to know, from what to wear, what makeup to use. And this is for men and women. I want you to feel empowered and confident every time you go on camera. Find out more by clicking the link before you go on camera. It's in the show notes and it's on my website, natalietysdal.com. That just feels so, I feel so relaxed. I get really tense, like back at shoulder blades up through my neck, and then it turns into this all on headache. And so finding ways to just, like you say, like soften your shoulders, like all of that. That feels so good.
Yeah,
For
a
those
lot
who
of
are
this.
listening, you're like, we were doing it the whole time. So rewind a little bit and just follow the instructions, and those show notes. I'll put in the show notes that link for that free resource. I love that.
Yes, yes. So that's at drkimd.com/free EFT. This is called
Okay.
emotional freedom technique. There's a lot of research, a lot of data in
Mm,
medicine showing for PTSD, for anxiety disorder, panic disorder, pain syndromes, like virtually
mm.
anything you can imagine that's been chronic. So do you want to do a round of this that we can use for anxiety to give them a
Is it
guideline?
different from anxiety? Yeah. Give us a quick
Yeah.
round of for
Okay. So you're going to
anxiety.
start with the karate chop point, which is the outer edge of the hand. And we do 3 setup phrases, and you're
Mm.
just guiding your body to know what you're asking it to do. So you're going to say, even though I'm in so much anxiety, and you can repeat it out loud.
Even
You
though
know,
I'm in so much anxiety. Mhm.
I choose to be at peace now.
I choose to be at peace now. So if you can
Even
pull
though
over if you're driving or something, this is
yeah,
really
right,
good to
pull
stop and
over.
do. Okay, keep going.
Even though I'm overwhelmed,
Even though I'm overwhelmed,
I can let my body know it's okay to let go.
I can let my body know it's okay to let go.
Even though I'm so triggered,
Even though I'm so triggered,
I'm ready to be at peace.
I'm ready to be at peace.
Okay, then you just go to the inner eye, all this anxiety, just acknowledging what's coming up.
And now we're tapping above our eyebrows, the inner eye.
All
Sorry, what
this
was I saying?
anxiety,
All this anxiety.
outer eye, I'm overwhelmed.
I'm overwhelmed.
Under the eye, so triggered.
So triggered.
Under the nose, there's so much I need to do.
There's so much I need to do.
On the chin, I have to be everything for everybody.
I have to be everything for everybody.
Under the collarbone, just acknowledging what I'm feeling in here.
Just acknowledging what I'm feeling here.
Under the arm, it's okay to acknowledge what I'm feeling.
It's okay to acknowledge what I'm feeling.
On top of the head, so I can let the energy move.
So I can let the energy move.
Inner eye, it's really intense.
It's really intense.
Outer eye, overwhelming.
Overwhelming.
Under the eye, so hard.
So hard.
Under the nose, I can't just get a break.
I can't just get a break.
On the chin, and I'm going to acknowledge this.
I'm going to acknowledge this.
Under the collarbone, all the ways I've felt this way.
All the ways I felt this way.
Under the arm for so long.
For so long.
On top of the head, and it's okay for me to acknowledge what's happening in my body.
It's okay for me to acknowledge what's happening in my body.
And find compassion for myself.
And find compassion for myself.
Good. Deep breath in. Let it all go. There's a lot more you can go into, and there's a lot on that page for free. But even just that 1 minute or 30 seconds can really, really make the difference between tight, overwhelmed, contracted, reactive, and all right, I can move through this.
And is this, that whole exercise that you just did, I imagine, good at what age? For younger kids?
I've used it for 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds. My son is 5, and he had really severe allergic reaction. I took my daughter to horses, and he's had that before where he'll just flare up. My eyes are itchy. So I I drove him home, and the whole time he's like, really struggling. I said, Gianni, let's do some tapping to nurture your body. And so this has been shown to rebalance the immune system, to decrease that
Mm,
inflammation, among many, many other health benefits. And by the
mm,
time we got home, like 10 minutes later, he was fine. He wasn't 100% yet, although over the next hour he resolved, but he was, oh, mom, that helped so much. Thank you so much. He went from crying and screaming and, oh, my eyes are so itchy,
yeah.
to like, oh, mom, thanks. That made such a difference. So at 5, he could understand how to do this and understand why sometimes kids, aren't really ready to just sit with this, but he
Yeah.
did very, very well. With younger kids, younger than like 3 and 4, you can just cross the hands right over the chest and do a butterfly. So you just kind of like pat like little butterfly flapping wings left and right, left and right. This helps rebalance the hemispheres of
Mm.
the brain and shift the neurologic signals. So that can also be helpful.
It's amazing to me. I mean, the emotional side of it, when we talk about anxiety, depression, but but the health side of it, as you just mentioned, your immune system, and as you were saying, with allergies and things like that, you find that in overall health as well.
Oh yeah, I had actually a kid, since we're talking about kids. I use it mostly with adults, but I did have this kid with very, very severe abdominal pain, and he'd been to see, the gastroenterologist, the pediatric
Mm,
specialist. I was in Boston at the time, so they have lots of specialists. And over the course of a year, no one could figure anything out. They put him on multiple medications,
mm,
and he would just melt down in the backseat of the car when they'd go to like a baseball game or a party with his friends, or different social activities, and screaming and writhing with this severe abdominal pain.
mm,
And when I met with him once, and usually, really honestly, kids can have like one session and they will resolve. It's usually the patterns in the parents. So I always would offer like the mom a
mm,
session or the parent, because that would even move the energy at a deeper level of whatever the dynamics were emotionally. This kid, we immediately called out and found this actually started after he had vomited at his own baseball game, and he was so embarrassed and so ashamed, and the dad trying to be encouraging, get back out there, buddy, come on, don't let this get you
mm.
down, you got this.
Yeah.
So the kid really suppressed the shame and the embarrassment and what he was
Mhm.
feeling. He felt he let his dad down. The kid was 6 at the time, so the emotional insight was really massive. It wasn't there before we started the tapping. Usually you've got to do a couple rounds of tapping before it really comes up to the conscious.
Mm.
But I've seen universally that it will. And his
Wow.
symptoms completely resolved. He no longer needed any of the GI specialists. He no longer was on any medications. And that family was so, so happy. They looked retrospectively, oh, wow, all of the social activities when he wouldn't get out of the car, they were all baseball related, that we went to see the Red Sox or we went to his baseball friend's birthday party. And it was all around that same incident and that same group. So it just retrospectively made a ton of sense. But on the front end, it was a big medical conundrum.
Yeah, and who would have ever thought that's what was causing it? Like, the kid and the
We usually
parents, like,
don't have words
yeah.
for, oh, hey, dad,
Mhm.
it really made me feel bad when you said this to me. Usually
Mm.
we're not conscious of our
Right.
emotions or our
Mm.
reactions, but they are still physiologic and they will physicalize. So I've had a lot of people with pain syndromes, fibromyalgia, migraines, all kinds of autoimmune diseases. And they'll say, no, no, this is not emotional. My labs show that this is physical. But what we're not understanding is how much the emotions and the nervous system will drive those physiologic physical responses and actually manifestation of disease.
Wow. It's just amazing to me. Well, I know people might want more and more information. You gave us your website before. And where else can they find you and follow you?
I do a weekly broadcast called Mind Body TV, and you can go to drkimd.com to subscribe to our email. So we invite you to that. It's if you join the Mind Body community in Facebook, we have coaches in there to assist people through this work. My book is called The Mind Body Toolkit. That's also at drkimd.com. Um, and so, yeah, you can just kind of begin to tune in to what I'm offering. It's mostly for people who are looking for how do I activate my power? How do I create it differently? How do I resolve these conundrums of challenges or illness or whatever
Mhm.
may be going on? You're a lot more powerful than you may think. And you can really activate that when you begin to connect.
Yeah, so much gets trapped. And I love even just that small exercise you took me through. And I'm mildly familiar with tapping and interviewing people, but to make it a practice and to be aware. Thank you so much for coming on, for explaining this to us. And I just look forward to talking to you again.
Thank you. Me too. Thank you so much for having
Okay.
me.
Take care.